views, opinions, and representations expressed on the Night Dreams Talk Radio Network and its website are those of the hosts, guests, and participants, and are not necessarily those of or endorsed by the network, its affiliated stations and broadcasts, the management, other hosts, or advertisers of the network. The shows found on the Night Dreams Talk Radio Network can, but do not necessarily, promote any particular lifestyle, belief, religion, political affiliation, or other personal practice. These shows are for entertainment purposes only, and are not intended to treat, diagnose, and or claim any cure of disease or condition, or give any medical or legal advice. You can advertise your business on Night Dreams Talk Radio, and you will be heard worldwide. Why not contact us at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com.
You're listening to my friend Gary Anderson on Night Dreams Talk Radio, the best in paranormal radio.
Well, thank you, John. Tonight we're going to be talking, some interesting stuff with an author of a book called Song of Altantis, Brian Power. How are you doing tonight, Brian?
I'm doing just fine, Gary. Thank you.
Yeah, I was a little bit hesitant there. I think my wife just came home. Our studio was right in my house, and I don't supposed to be smoking, and here I was smoking a cigar.
Uh-oh. Look out.
I'm going to get busted. Anyway, why don't you tell everybody about your book and what made you motivated to write this book and how long it took you to write it?
Okay, Song of Atlantis is a journey. I've been trying to write things all my life, and I would periodically start something, and I would get writing about this idea, and then all of a sudden I find out that I painted myself in a corner, and I couldn't, and so I'd hit these dead ends after 12 or 15 pages. But then, all of a sudden, about a while back, I started. I think it was 2009. I started writing, and I took some ideas. Borrowed some ideas from Graham Hancock and Christopher Dunn, who had written books about alternative theories about the pyramids, and so I decided let me fool around with that. And then I took a few other ideas I had, and I started mashing them together, and I ended up coming up with this book, Song of Atlantis, and it took me 6 years to write it. It was a lot of editing, re-editing, restructuring the order of the chapters in order to create a little bit more tension and create story arcs and things like that. And it was a pretty long process. But basically, what the book is about, it's about my heroes discovering the lost continent of Atlantis. And within it, they discovered that there was this ancient civilization on Earth that had advanced technology and knew the secrets of producing unlimited clean energy. So my guys try to bring this forward in the present day, and word of it gets out. And there's a group of, I call the Gnomes of Zurich, who are in the employ of people heavily invested in carbon-producing industries. And the gnomes are going to try and kill my guys.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's get into it now. I mean, what motivated you to come up with, number one, this book? I mean, and getting into the pyramids and getting into all this stuff. I mean, something had to motivate you. I know you mentioned you've always tried writing, and wrote stuff down, and it didn't materialize, but what made you actually finish this time?
Well, this one, it was a little bit more, it was closer to my heart because I've really been so concerned about the environment. And my central character has a vision, and in which the Earth is choking itself to death, and he has to do something about it. And I think that we are at that point, with all the global warming that's going on, and we have not united to say we've got to do something about this. We can't let the oceans get warmer, or they're going to release carbon dioxide in the air, and it's going to turn the sky black, and it's going to be a catastrophe. Just a few degrees of difference in the Earth, and the Earth, I think, is a living organism, and so that was kind of my driving factor, saying I need to write something about what's happening to the Earth, but give it a little bit of a dramatic flair, invent some kind of off the wall concepts, and see what happens, So that's kind of how it got to where it got.
Well, I can honestly tell you, I don't know if we're past the tipping point. I got a funny feeling we are. I think we already passed it. I mean, there's too many things going on. Antarctica is like breaking up at a record speed. It's going even way faster than, what they even projected, to the point now it's really, really getting scary. I guess yesterday another big hunk, broke off, which is huge. And, what's going to actually happen is the water, going, around the UK and all that, the Atlantic Ocean, it's going to cool it. And that water coming from the equator, going through there, keeps basically part of Europe, UK namely, and France from going into, ice age. And
right, because it's the Gulf Stream. And if once that chills down, you're going to kill Europe. You're going to do great damage to the New England part of North America, and on top of that, you're going to kill the livestock in the ocean.
Well, not just that. You're going to kill people. Back in Russia, turn of the century, they went through almost a deep freeze where people couldn't even warm their houses. It was so bad. They were taking the planks off their flooring, the walls, furniture, everything, burning it, trying to stay warm. And a lot of people actually even froze in their own house because that's how cold they get. Now, could you imagine all of a sudden, the UK, England, and all that going into an ice age? How many of those people would survive? Where would they go to?
Yeah, and today we're not equipped to survive without the internet. We're hardwired into everything, and I don't think anybody knows how to survive without electronics. So what do you do when the lights go out? And that's going to be an interesting question.
That's scary too, because I was reading. They said there's about a 3-day supply of food in all the grocery stores. So if the grid went down or something major happened, you think 3 days and there's no food available, there's not going to be any way to get the food into the stores, chaos would break. I mean, I think society would start breaking down really fast. And I feel sorry for people that were smart enough to have generators, because at that point, if you're running your generator, you're going to have unwanted guests coming to your house.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's, we've got to figure a way to get ourselves off the grid, so that we are producing our own clean energy, whether it's through solar, whether it's through wind, whether it's through geothermal. We have the solutions at our fingertips, but our governments have not been willing to invest in them because, after all, it's the oil companies, they make a lot of contributions to political campaigns. So I don't think I'm saying anything radically new. This is a lot of people have that same feeling.
Well, I'm going to probably get some of my listeners really upset with me. The fence that the president wants to build. What really upsets me is it would cost about $3 billion to protect our grid. So if we had a major, anything, it would take out our grid. And what would we do without power? We couldn't survive. You can think about dumping 5.7 whatever billion to build this other thing, when we should actually be thinking about, putting something in to protect our grid where it doesn't go down. I think that would be the number one thing I would think in my mind would be top everything. Oh, yeah.
And obviously, this is this whole business that he's citing why we have to do this. The stuff that he's quoting in terms of statistics about people in this country illegally and illegal drugs and stuff like that, those are all coming through legitimate checkpoints. These are people that come in here with a visa and overstay their welcome and don't go back, and the drugs and everything else that they're coming through in 18-wheelers and getting through the checkpoints at the legitimate crossings. This does not have anything to do with what's going on out there. Even the drug cartel people saying that we don't smuggle drugs that way. We're being sold a bill of goods on this, and there are. I saw a wonderful article a while back, and I should have saved it. But it was somebody who said he showed that for about a tenth of that cost, you could set up an electronic surveillance network. That once you detected movement, you could deploy then border security to the locales where the action was taking place, and you wouldn't have to go ahead and build this wall. And on top of that, the wall is also going to restrict the free migration of animals that go back and forth. They don't care about borders. So anyway.
Well, I will say this, and we'll get back in your book. They don't even, the fence being there, okay, it's a common fact. A lot of them are great at making tunnels. Last year there was a tunnel found that was big enough a truck could go through it. So, I mean, the air conditioning, lighting, and all this stuff. So, I mean, is this going to do anything? I don't think so. Again, I think we need to put more into, our survival, which is, hey, let's keep the grid up. Like, again, if we ever had a flare or if we ever had whatever happen, our system is so out of date, it won't handle it. We'll lose the power. And how long will it take to get back in? We don't even make the transformers anymore in our country. They're made in India, and it can take up to a year, to get replacement transformers. So we would be so in trouble.
And it's, you're absolutely right that, we need to protect our own grid. And make it, immune to what they call, magnetic impulse, the sort of thing that would happen if a nuclear attack happened, or if a meteor came through. It would create a magnetic pulse that would just, short circuit the whole network, and we can shield it. The military has the technology; they shield their own networks with it, but we need to do that for everybody.
Oh yeah.
And getting back to the wall idea, I don't know if you remember the movie Patton, but he talks about the Maginot Line, and he said, walls are a monument to man's stupidity. And even the Chinese, when they built the Great Wall, their enemies got through it in no time at all by bribing the guards. So what good does a wall do? Yeah.
It doesn't do anything other than, trying to make a point, and I don't know, maybe it's a diversion. But going into your book, too, about, I was kind of curious, before we went on the air, we were talking, you were mentioning about the pyramids, how the position, being the stones, how they were cut. What I read is a lot of these stones were done at laser precision cutting. No way they could have 4,500 years ago been able to do anything like that.
Yeah, and the limestone exterior of the pyramid, while that was quarried fairly locally to Giza, the granite was quarried 500 miles away, and these are 27-ton beams. And every one of them fine-tuned to, by the way, to the and I mentioned this, and I use this prominently in the book. It's fine-tuned to the key of A, and that's kind of